So this current model is based on following steps. First of all, resource provider registers an account for the provider and submits a provider for inclusion in a group of EOSC providers. And there are sort of some basic sanity checks. Does the provider look like it's suitable for EOSC? Can we verify the information, for example, address or registration of legal entity, and so on. So once the provider is registered, the resource needs to be described and submitted for validation. And then, once the resource is validated, for example, against the rules of participation criteria, it can be listed on the marketplace. And after this, add-on components like ordering can be added. The ordering is relevant mainly for resources that can't be used simultaneously by multiple users. For example, you have a virtual server instance where you want to do the data processing. So this unified path is made possible by consolidating the different resource description standards into a single set of EOSC profiles. And they are published under Creative Commons, so they are available through the links listed on the slide, and intended for use in EOSC, but also in other registries that might want to use these tools to build their own federations. So sharing of the approaches and tools means that these community federations will then have an option of being interoperable or linked with EOSC, since the technical interoperability is already built in. And as noted in these green boxes, the published profiles include both the provider and resource providers, so they can cover both of the phases discussed in the previous slide. So if you look into the provider profile in a little bit more detail, it includes information that is shared by all the resources integrated by the provider. And this includes basic information, name, website, legal form, and so on, marketing information, sort of short description of the provider and maybe a logo, then classification, whether the provider is an EOSC provider and focused on specific disciplines and so on, and then location, physical address, and contact information, and then maturity. For example, if they have a certification such as ISO 20000 and whether this provider is already sort of operational or just being upgraded or being built, and then this should be documented. And actually being able to onboard providers even before they are operational, that kind of shortens the time that it will take then to launch the services that or resources that will be integrated later on. And then, there's sort of possibly also other information that can be sort of can help users find a provider. For example, if there's sort of participation in major EOSC project, or if the provider is an ESFRI project participant and so on. Then the resource provider, it's similar to the provider profile, but shares actually some of the components, but there are some of the items are more complex. For example, the contact information needs to include details such as help desk and security contacts that are not sort of relevant for the provider as a whole. Also, the maturity information needs to be more fine-grained to cover phases such as limited pilot use or gradual retirement, where the service is provided but it's no longer advertised. The dependencies are also a new aspect, since using the resource may be possible only if the user has access to other EOSC services. In general, resource profile is an area where the complexities involved in integration become apparent. When you extend the user base and make the resource available in a completely new platform, this means documenting things that are most likely not documented before. However, this process has already been automated, so things are sort of relatively painless and fast to go through. So, this concludes the module introducing the EOSC resource integration. You can find a number of relevant links and in-depth resources on this subject in the slide deck. Thank you.